On the latest episode of Bigfoot Collectors Club, The Other Side, we pit 8 classic movie monsters against 8 classic cryptid creatures to find out who is the ultimate monster of all time. Brace yourself for twists, turns, shocks, and fatalities galore in the epic that listeners are calling a wild ride and a wonderful and insane episode. So cross over to patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club for more info.
Bigfoot Collectors Club presents
Terrfying Tales from Zombie Bigfoot's Cryptid Crypt. I know a ghost story about you.
I remember being at a network test. It was for a Lifetime show. It's the one where they did oh God, I forget. But anyway, the tension was, I mean, everybody was just kind of doing their own thing, as they should be, right? And then this one dude comes in like 45 minutes late, and he's like, doesn't even mention that he's late, but he's like, oh, there's this great new game on this app. It's the one where you like bling it up on your head, and you like, it's like a guessing game, and you turn the phone down if you get it wrong. And he's like, let's play. Let's everybody play. And I'm immediately like, fuck, I don't want to play, dude. I'm like, I'm in a zone, right?
Of course, yeah.
This guy is horrible, and
Right.
I will say, tell me who this is after the show, because he's never going to be a guest
It was
on this
such
podcast.
it was so dicky, and I just felt like, oh man, but he ended up booking the part, and I was like, totally
Wow.
I was thrown off my game. I was like, man, the guy power moved me. Yeah, I got power moved. I fell right into his trap.
Name him. Right, everyone?
I heard that James Franco used to go to auditions reading like Camus, like just reading like philosophy books in front of everybody to psych everybody out and look deep.
That doesn't surprise me. I got to tell you, I met my buddy did a film with him, and this was early on in his career before he really became, famous and stuff. And I remember shaking his hand, and I there was just like this sort of energy, and I was like, he had so much charisma and just like a handshake, and I was like, oh, weird. It was just like I was like, man, I remembered that, and I was like, this guy's got a lot of potential.
Did you guys?
We all got a lot of potential, but he just lived up to his.
Wait, did this turn out to be a famous person, or did you guys just hook up that night?
What do you mean? No, this was James Franco.
Oh, gotcha. I missed that.
Yes
part.
to both.
Yes to both. Yes,
Yes to both.
Maybe you gotta do that stuff. Maybe that's what you gotta do. You gotta be kind of douchey like that. But
Yeah.
I
Well,
can't. Lord help me.
Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Douchebag Auditioners Club. I'm your host, Michael McMillan. This is the Bigfoot Collectors Club. Everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode. I, of course, am your ghost, Michael McMillan. With me always is your other ghost,
Bryce Johnson,
and our supernatural producer,
Riley Bray.
Zombie Bigfoot's Cryptid Crypt continues all month long here on the main feed and on our Patreon, The Other Side. To celebrate the Halloween season, our stories of high strangeness this month will focus on terrifying tales, like auditioning.
There's nothing scarier than that.
Well, you heard him already. Here to celebrate with us is a man who is no stranger to delicious treats you might find during Halloween. In fact, he's famous for letting you know which treats are snacks and which are whack. Tonight's guest is a comedian, actor. You know him from The Birthday Boys and Love. He's also the future star of the movie The Tomorrow War and co-host of the podcast all about chain restaurants, The Doughboys. Boys and girls, please give a warm Club Scout salute to Mr. Mike Mitchell.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I've never had no one has ever said my credits that beautifully. It sounds good.
This is the
sounds like I have a good resume. Not true, but it sounds good here.
You're crushing it. I mean, I'm upset that the Tomorrow War got renamed from Ghost Draft because it's like perfect for this podcast.
I was telling them that. I was like, you can't change it. There's a podcast you guys got to listen to. What are you doing? But they went. I think I'm not sure why they changed it, but because I liked Ghost Draft. I thought it was a cool title.
This is a big
Tomorrow War's not bad either, though. That's pretty. I like that.
Yeah, Tomorrow War's kind of pretty cool. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it was confusing some people or what the deal was, but
like
Ghost
they thought it
Draft
was
went
about
away.
a ghostwriter just like penning a politician's autobiography.
I think maybe that I think that is I think they did think it was like paranormal heavy, and it's not really that. I can't say exactly what it's about, I guess, but they thought that it was like a thing where I was gonna play like a ghost from the past. I was like one of the ghosts that was drafted. Like I think that's what they thought it was, like maybe people who were dead that they drafted, and that's not really what the movie's about. So I think that's maybe why they changed it up. But hey, also kind of a cool idea. Anyone out there listening?
I mean, no,
Hey, free movie idea.
4 of us are going to write a movie called Ghost Draft, where they draft ghosts to play sports. It's kind
That's
of like
great.
Space Jam meets Haunted Mansion.
Space Jam meets Haunted Mansion.
Whatsoever.
You could sell that movie, I feel like, right now. Space Jam meets Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Are there any ghosts in Bugs Bunny? Are there any ghost characters? There's really not. Like Casper's the only famous ghost cartoon ghost. Am I wrong? Am I totally losing my mind?
There's the witch. There's the witch. That
Yeah, she's
kind of
great.
big witch. I forget what her name is. And then as far as ghosts, is there like I feel like it's a Disney short, right? Where like Mickey and Donald and Goofy kind of go ghost hunting.
Disney obviously is obsessed with the macabre. Like especially early Disney. Like why was Walt Disney so obsessed with ghosts and devils? There's like Night on Bald Mountain in Fantasia. There's the Mickey, Goofy, and Donald ghost hunters. There's like the Dancing Skeletons cartoon.
Well, Walt Disney was very big into esoterics. I mean, I think he was a 33-degree Mason. He also pulled a lot of those stories that we see in the Disney films from Grimm's fairy tales. So he was heavy into, all that type of lore and mythology. And
I might have an explanation for it as well.
Oh yeah.
His house was in Los Feliz, where it was the neighborhood I live in, and he was basically up in the hills, kind of close to Griffith Park. And didn't Griffith himself say that all that land is haunted?
Yeah, that land is all supposed to be cursed up there.
Yeah, so maybe maybe he was living in maybe he experienced some paranormal stuff. I'm sure.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Well, there is a terrifying tale about Walt Disney. This is from the Neil Gabler book, the biography. I think it's Neil. It might be Nate. Sorry if I'm getting that wrong. But this is a really brutal story. So he built a house for his mom and dad and moved them out here from Kansas City. And it was when they were building the original Hyperion Studios where they made... actually, I think they were moving from the Hyperion Studios where that Gelson's and Trader Joe's is now, over there in Silver Lake.
Yeah.
And that's where they did Snow White. And then they moved to the Disney Studios. They built that. And Walt Disney was building a house for his parents. And he asked a couple of the workers who were building the Disney Studios to go over to their house and install an air conditioning. So a month later, his mom died. And the coroner just decided it had been carbon monoxide poisoning.
Oh, no.
And the fire marshal went into their house, looked at the air conditioning unit and went, whoever installed this did not know what they were doing. This is where the leak is coming from. So Walt Disney ended up inadvertently causing the death of his own mother. And then you have stuff like Bambi. You know what I mean? Then you have all these like dead mothers in the stories.
Jeez.
It's so dark, so sad.
Wow. I didn't know that story. That's crazy.
That's truly a terrifying tale from Zombie Bigfoot's CRYPTid.
Well, I think
like
Michael,
a real story.
I think you win the why Disney liked ghosts and stuff. So
Well, he started. That all started before this, but yeah, that's a real tragedy. All right, I'm going to see if I can.
I thought the scary thing was that they had no AC. That was the thing that was terrifying to me.
I live in LA and I technically don't have AC. I have it's not central. I got a wall unit in one room in the living room, and it sucks.
I can imagine. Yeah, I have a wall unit in my living room, but it goes into my bedroom. But I'm in Massachusetts right now, anyways. I'm on the East Coast.
Yes, yes, and I've got some questions for you about that coming up. But I got
which, by the way, the spooky capital of the world.
Yes, yeah. I'm very excited. I got to do a quick hard pivot from Dead Moms to asking you, Mike, as our chain restaurant and chain food connoisseur, any Halloween treats or candies that are at the top of your list?
Wow, this is a great question because just today, I was in Walgreens. My mom asked me to swing by there, and I had to swing by another restaurant that we were reviewing for Doughboys. But I went to Walgreens first and picked up. Was going to pick up some Haribo gummy bears for she's buying for my sister's friend's kid. So I was going in there, and I was just walking through all the Halloween candy, and I picked up a bag just for the house. And to give to kids if they come around on Halloween, but mostly just
if that candy makes it.
Yes, I mean if kids even come out on Halloween, which I really don't know. So I got a bag of Reese's pumpkins. I really love those Reese's pumpkins. I don't know how they're going to be because these seem to be fun size maybe, or like they seem to be made for trick or treaters. But the usually the Reese's pumpkins or the Christmas trees or the egg, the Easter Reese's Easter egg, I really love. But as far as like trick or treating candy, it's tricky because obviously my when I was a kid, I think I was more like Starburst base, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I really liked gummies, but then always loved Snickers. I always like the fun size Snickers and the Reese's. But now probably Reese's peanut butter cups, and there were some Take Fives, and I also got a bag of those, and I think probably more of the chocolate based Snickers, that
Crackle.
Sort of deal.
What about Crackle? Crackle was always one of my favorites to get. I never had a Crackle anywhere else but out of my Halloween bag.
Crackle is that's a Halloween candy for sure.
Yeah.
There was like the Skittles that have like the weird flavor in them. There was a bag of those there, but I didn't. I tried those on the podcast that Nick Weiger and I do, Doughboys, and they were awful because it was just one of the Skittles like tastes like shit basically. So it's a very
Halloween
strange
theme where they're like, this one's flaming dog shit. It's like all based on tricks instead of treats.
Have you ever had those jelly beans that are that fool you? They're those trick jelly beans, so they're all filled with flavors like dog shit.
Yeah, the Harry Potter ones.
Yeah, those are the worst, man. Holy cow.
And I think if I had a dog shit jelly bean, I think I would throw up. That's so horrific. But yeah, no, I used to love Halloween, and my birthday is in October, so I'm
mine too. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you as well.
What can I ask which day it is?
Yes, it was about a week ago now. Almost exactly a week. It's October 6th.
Oh, well, nice. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy belated.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no, so I love I love Halloween. I love scary movies. I've always been terrified of scary movies since I was a kid. Child's Play scared the hell out of me when I was little, and
I wouldn't watch it. I just watched it as a 41-year-old man this past year.
It's still pretty scary, isn't it?
It's scary. It's also just like first of all, it's really well written and it's really funny.
Yeah,
and the animatronics are really good. I was like, well, this is just like really done really, really well.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't say scary, but like very creepy. Still, when you see like him, like when you see the doll running from like there'll be like a wide shot of the doll like running in the background or whatever. It is creepy. It still kind of works. Yeah.
And Bryce, you would love it if you haven't seen it recently because there's a whole opening sequence that takes place in a toy store and you can see a bunch of great 80s toys on the shelves.
Nice.
That's like a bonus.
Just like a nice flashback. Yeah, I'll have to watch that again. I have this movie list going for my son and for my daughter. She's 11, but my son's 9, and he just gets scared so easily. But there's so many movies. Like I'm getting so tired of like all the new Pixar stuff and all the stuff that's like out recently. So every like once a week, I try to take them back, back to the 80s to show them something great. But it's like we're getting to the point now where it's like, okay, bud, you gotta pull yourself up here. I want to show you some of the good stuff, like Child's Play. And I tried Gremlins last week too. And then it's like there was one moment where it kind of got a little spooky. He's like, nope, I'm out. And then he's just like bolts out of here.
This is like your version of taking your son out into the woods in the early 1900s and making him kill a deer. You know what I mean?
That's exactly what it's like.
You're a man now.
You're a man now.
Bryce, did you bring in something to share with the class today?
I did. Yeah, there was some news today for sure.
So I guess that means, Riley, we have some... BCC
knows. Man,
you guys lost it. You were doing good for a while.
Well,
we'll get it one day.
I stopped because I was ahead of him on my end.
It's okay.
Don't ever stop. You got to just go through it.
All right, fair enough.
Anyway, some big news sort of came out today. Not big, but the Mail Online reports about
the
Harry
Mail
Reid.
Online? What is that?
I'm sorry, the Daily Mail. Daily Mail.
Okay.
Daily Mail Online. It was all over.
Men's
HuffPost
support group.
I found it in a few various places, but I chose this one. Most of the UFO evidence hasn't seen the light of day. Former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid says the government is covering up huge amounts of evidence of unexplained encounters. Former Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid made the claim in the documentary The Phenomenon, which examines the history of UFO sightings in the United States, which is out on Netflix. I'm waiting for some perfect alone time to watch it. Haven't seen it yet. I hear it's fucking great.
I didn't even know about it.
Yeah. So Harry Reid goes on camera, and I think that's what a lot of these news pieces are sort of following up on. Why the federal government all these years has covered up, put brake pads on everything, stopped it. I think it's very, very bad for our country, he said. When asked if he's saying there's still evidence that hasn't yet been publicly disclosed, Reid replies, I'm saying most of it hasn't seen the light of day. Wow. Since leaving office in 2017, he has become increasingly outspoken about UFOs. And following the release of videos taken by pilots that show unexplained aerial phenomena in April, Reid wrote, the American people deserve to be informed. And it goes on to state, more news, but you know me, I like to stop there. That's good enough. You get the gist. Harry Reid is, saying that there is way more than we're not seeing that is being covered up and possibly locked away in these special access programs.
We gotta check that out. Maybe we'll do The Phenomenon as a movie club over on the other side.
I think so. UFO Twitter is really a buzz. I think people are really digging it. They're like, "Oh, this is part of the timeline of disclosure."
Disclosure. Oh God,
it's coming, and so am I.
Mitch, have you been following this UFO stuff in the news?
I have, and it's funny. My friend Ryan Perez made a great point about it. He was saying how it's like it is basically just like an invasion movie that we're like so occupied with kind of everything that's going on. There's the COVID-19 and the pandemic and a lot of protests and a lot of different things going on, obviously. And in the background there's just like another alien sighting, like it's that sort of thing from like a scary movie where it's like, oh yeah, like if spaceships showed up tomorrow, we would be like, oh, we should have known. Like that's like we should have we should have been seeing this happening. But yeah, I've looked at some of the stuff, and it's kind of, I mean, it's cool and like also slightly terrifying, just because I was raised on the aliens coming and destroying us movies. So I am slightly nervous about it all, but it could be something cool, right? Or maybe they just kill us.
I mean, it's one or the other.
It's one or the other. And either way, we'll be fine.
I still think they just look at us like a colony of ants. It's like, what's the point of killing us? You know what I mean? They're so far advanced. Like, do they need Earth as a resource? Maybe. I don't know. But if they can get here, they can certainly get to a shit ton of other planets, I'm assuming.
I'll put it this way. The only thing that's really changed in the UFO phenomena is that we're covering it more seriously now. Otherwise, it's relatively the same. I mean, we've been visited by people have been seeing these strange lights in the skies for hundreds, if not thousands of years, with just as much, happening all over the place, all over the world, and all the time. So right now, it was really just when the New York Times started covering it that it really started gaining momentum in the mainstream news media. So I think that's only the thing that's really changed.
Yeah. And now it does feel like a sort of thing, though, that like, I mean, the world is just too crazy. Any other time, I feel like I'd be okay with it, but like, don't show up now. You know what I mean?
Please show up now.
Yeah.
Or maybe, just show up now. I guess you're right, but oh God, just I just want us to give us a few months to like just figure some stuff out and then come back. It's kind of how I feel.
Can I at least get like one more summer of hanging out in an outdoor cafe, having a glass of Pinot Grigio before we all die, please?
Yeah. I feel the same way.
Well, Mike, we love to ask. I'm going back and forth between Mike and Mitch. This is the problem. I've developed a parasocial relationship with you after listening to hours of your podcast.
I am livid.
Always so weird when you're that person and the other person is the person they are, which is me talking.
How
to
dare you call me
fan.
Mike and Mitch?
I don't know. It's so anyway, Mitch, we like to ask all of our guests, what is your personal paranormal history? You live, as you said, in the spookiest part of town or part of the country. Have you ever seen anything? Have you ever experienced anything? What scares you? I want to hear all about it.
I was always, just growing up, always afraid of ghosts. I mean, like I said, like I watched Child's Play as a boy and was just terrified of that, and was afraid of Jason and Freddy and you name it, I was afraid of it. But a child of the 80s is just the way of like every single slasher or horror movie just terrified the shit out of me.
If you'd been a boy in the 30s, would you have been scared of Dracula, Frankenstein, and like the Universal monsters?
I think yes, because like I said, because my birthday is around October. Like we used to go to haunted hayrides and stuff like that. We used to do kind of like spooky Halloween stuff. And so I've always been I've always like liked kind of Halloween stuff. And I remember my mom bought me like an old Vincent Price VHS that had like a bunch of different scary things on it, and like even like segments from like the 50s Wolfman or like Son of Wolfman or some stupid bullshit. Still was super scary to me. I was very easily scared as a child. I slept in my mom and dad's bed for way too long. I slept in there till like fourth grade or somewhere in there. I was like way too scared. I feel so bad for my parents looking back on it. They just have this fucking coward son.
You needed a father like Bryce to sit you down and force you
to
face your fears.
Get over the I think it honestly sometimes when you do watch some of those, I was so afraid of killer clowns from out of space. Oh, my Boston accent's back. Killer clowns from out of space. See, I can't do it. Outer space. Jesus Christ.
Out of space. That was oddly the one that I wasn't scared of because I thought it was so funny. That was the only horror movie I would watch as a kid.
Yeah, but when they cocoon those people in the cotton candy and then they like would suck their insides out, that's fucking creepy.
It is creepy, and it was on pay-per-view, and I feel like a lot of probably younger people don't know this, but when movies were on pay-per-view, you could like the first like the 2 or 3 minutes of it would play and then it would go away.
Oh, right.
And so like you could, and then a lot of the times it just would scramble. Yeah. So like it would just be scrambled. So you could kind of like hear and see some stuff sometimes still. And so like I remember like turning on that channel and like kind of seeing like someone get cocooned in cotton candy and just being freaked out. So like every stupid 80, and then when you watch them now, you're like, oh, this is like you guys were saying, it's like it's funny. It's not it's like almost like Child's Play is funny, like, and Chucky is like a little funny guy most of the time. But as a kid, you don't know that.
I was gonna say, thinking back to like why I was sort of like want to push my son to watching those movies, I thought about this. And, so when I was a kid and I'd spend the summers with my dad in Reno, we would go to the video store and my brother would like grab movies like Terminator and Aliens.
Yeah.
And when we got home, I didn't have much say because he was the older brother. And so that's the movie we watched. And I didn't have an iPhone to go to or an iPad or a video game off in my room. There was one TV. Like, if you don't want to watch the movie, then fuck off, go play with your toys. And I was like, so it was really like, okay, maybe I can just stomach my way through this. Whereas today, if my kids don't want to, it's hard to get all of us into the family room to like actually watch a movie all together.
Right. You're the man of the house. Point. You take those trains away from them. You limit the house to one television, make it an 80s TV.
Yeah.
Dude,
put a VCR, take away everything else, and then you'll get his attention.
You put Species on that TV. You watch Species.
Bryce loves Species.
I love that movie. I know.
That's the movie where Mitch was like, maybe I do like horror films.
That's when it turns. They get you. Once, sexy horror will change your mind very quickly.
That'll change everything just like that. Yeah, that movie.
No, he just ends up being terrified of women for the rest of his life.
But yeah, there's something. I think when we start to have more than one television in our houses and places where you get content elsewhere, it's like these kids feel they have options. They're like, I'm not vibing your movie, I'm out. And then and then I'm stuck watching fucking Aliens in my own den, and it's like, okay, but I'm down with that.
That doesn't sound like a problem. That sounds like a solution.
Yeah, no shit. I'm gonna have to like nail him down to the chair at some point. But
so, Mitch, you grew up in Boston or Quincy, Massachusetts. Where's that in relation to Boston exactly?
It's just south of Boston. I mean, we're next door to Dorchester and Braintree, and we're just south. If there's no traffic, I can drive into downtown in like 10 minutes or something.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, that's kind of like where I grew up in relation to Kansas City. That's got it.
Yeah, it's like an old it's an old city. I remember like my middle school was like 100 plus years old when I went there. Like there's definitely stuff that feels creepy, and I do have a couple not experiences. So but there is a house up the street from me, and this is a place where I used to watch a lot of scary movies because it was some of my good friends live there. The Tufos, my friends Anthony and Dan Tufo, who were lifelong friends and good buddies of mine, and they have a third brother, Chris. But Mr. and Mrs. Tufo, they lived up in this house up the street, and Mrs. Tufo used to tell us stories about it all the time, that it was haunted. So, and it was haunted before, like we, back when we were like little kids, basically is how the story went. So the story is basically that when they first moved in, so there was a family there before them, the Hennigans, and my sister was friends with Margot Hennigan, so she came down to the house and she was here. I saw her a lot, but then they moved out and the Tufos moved in, and it started off with like just kind of like weird things would happen where they'd walk into a room and the light would turn off, or they'd walk into like a room and the TV would turn on, things like that. And so it started to just kind of steamroll from there, and kind of like the TV would turn on and off and on and off in front of them, and they sometimes would like hear things, and like just weird paranormal experiences. And so one night they went out for dinner, Mr. and Mrs. Tufo, and they had a babysitter come over and watch the kids, Anthony and Dan, and Anthony was just like an infant and Dan was a baby. And they came back to the house, and her dad was sitting there with her, and she was like, after you guys left, the lights started to flash on and off, and I heard voices in the cellar. She thought that it was someone who had broken into the house. She thought there were people like downstairs.
Oh no.
And she called her dad over, and her dad was sitting there with her, and she was like crying still when they got home. And they like knew, they were like, uh-oh, they kind of knew what it was. But they obviously weren't like, oh, it was a ghost. But she said that, like, yeah, the lights were going on and off, and she heard voices like in the walls and downstairs, and she was really freaked out. And so Miss Tufo said that they started to like kind of address it and be like, hi, I know you're here. Like they just kind of started saying hello to it and stuff like that.
Oh wow.
And yeah, and so she told me a couple different stories of like she had heard voices she was home alone with the kids, and she heard voices upstairs, and she grabbed a knife, and she thought that it was somebody up there too, and she went up there, and a toy, like a Matchbox car, started to roll down the hallway by itself.
Nope.
Whoa.
And
I feel like this is a man casually describing the events of Poltergeist, which took place in his neighborhood, like on a podcast years later, just like a secondhand witness to the Poltergeist movie.
Oh, you know what? This is I fucked up. This is Poltergeist.
No, but like if it was like one of the characters in Poltergeist that lived in that neighborhood, but like just heard about what happened to that house, and then later goes on a podcast.
I'm the guy in the beginning who like brings over the beers and Poltergeist. I'm like I'm Craig T. Nelson's friend or whatever. But yeah, no, so she like obviously that, you know, she was freaked out all the time. I remember she told the story of how they had like a baby swing that was cranked, and she had Dan in it, and it was swinging back and forth. She went upstairs and she got him, and then she came back downstairs, and then she heard noises upstairs again. She went up, and she walked into the room, and the baby swing, which it was crank operated, was swinging back and forth. And when she walked in, it stopped, and it had already been like for an hour had not been moving. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And so this is where the story gets crazy. And so, you know, you might lose people here, but this is what Mrs. Tufo told me.
Not on this podcast.
And so she was like, she was like, she's a very religious woman. She's like, if I slept over there on a Saturday night, we had to go to like church on Sunday and stuff like that. They're Italian, they're Roman Catholics, Italians, super, super religious. And so she said she was laying in bed one night, and there was like, she woke up, and over like hovering over the bed was a black veil, she said. And she said, if you're a good ghost, you can stay, and if you're a bad ghost, get out. And she pointed like out the window or whatever, and the black veil supposedly like whipped across the room, and the like blinders went up.
Oh my God.
Is what she says. And she says that after that, she never saw or heard anything again. And that was kind of it. And this is also, by the way, I haven't talked to her in a long time, but this is the gist of the story. This is what she's told me forever. And she's like, I never believed in ghosts. Like I never did until I had those experiences, and it really freaked me out. And she said that so there were two things there. I think there was because the city was, Quincy is like founded in like 1625. It's fucking old. You know what I mean? Like it just is, you know, the start of America and everything, just old school, old, like
it's like as old as parts of London.
Yes, exactly. Yes, yeah. And which I like, if I had to guess, I said that this is the spookiest part of the world, but definitely overseas somewhere is probably you get the real kind of scary haunted places. But New England definitely has that, you know, hundreds of year old kind of eerie places that, and this house just it has that vibe to it. And so supposedly a woman who lived there died, but the other thing she said is that, and going down to their basement, it was always eerie. Sleeping over there, when I slept over, I was always fucking terrified. Like I never
ready to go to church.
I was ready to go to church. Like it would always suck if I was with Anthony and Dan, and then they would fall asleep before me when I was sleeping over, and I'd just be like sweaty palmed, laying still in my sleeping bag, like terrified. But and there's like one section of the house particularly that's like super scary, that's like kind of the front of the house in the basement area, and it just feels old as hell. And there's like kind of like a study area, but they didn't use it too much back in the day. And it's like very beautiful, but there's like a secret passageway that because you know it's just an old house, so there's like kind of like a secret passageway that goes to another part of the cellar, and it is super creepy. And like I would be there and I like wouldn't even look down that stairway because I was just so scared. But all that, and then also, oh yeah, there was another thing is that she bought this bed frame. And supposedly there was like a fire, and these twin girls died in the bed. Like they died of asphyxiation, I guess, smoke inhalation or whatever. They died in the bed. So she always like had wondered like, oh, is that what it was, or was it the woman who died in this house?
That'll do it.
Or whatever it was. So she wasn't sure, but she claimed she never really saw anything after that. Then I was in college, and I was home from college, and Mrs. Hennigan called, who used to live in the house, and she was like, "Hey, is your mom there?" And I was like, and she's like, "It's Mrs. Hennigan." And I was like, "Oh no, she's not here, but like good to hear from you. I haven't heard from her in forever. You know, like I had like kind of talked to her like over the years since then, I guess, like a couple times, but hadn't seen her at this point in over like a decade." And I was like, you know, like after you moved out of that house, so that like Mrs. Tufo, she always told us scary stories, and then she's like, Mike, I'm going to stop you right there. She's like we moved out of that house because it was haunted.
Whoa!
Wow.
So this is the other family. This is Mrs. Hennigan from the other family who was basically kind of confirming to me that like, oh, there was something going on there, you know, there was something going on. So, and
that's the reason they moved.
Yeah, that's
yes.
when you know it's real. It's like we fucking moved, and you're like, okay, that checks out. That vibes with me.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, I and that was enough for me. So the house I live in, or the house my mom lives in, is like probably 90 years old, or you know, like around there, 90 plus years old or something, or maybe a little less than that. But and I always thought that this house was kind of creepy, but the Tufo's house it's next level. It's just it has that vibe to it, that old school.
How long would it take
vibe.
you to walk down to the Tufo's house right now? Look in the windows and tell us if you see anything.
It would be very funny if I did that and Mrs. Tufo was there and she's like, "What the fuck are you doing, Mike?"
I'm a ghost. I know who you are. I've known you since you were a little boy.
It would not take me very long. I wonder if Anthony still stays there occasionally, but it's kind of up the hill a little bit. But it would be much easier. They put a big gate around the entire property, so it's a little tougher. But it's not far. It's a couple stone throws away. I could walk there in just 2 or 3 minutes. So
see, I would be worried that first of all, I'm very tempted to insist that you do this, but then I would also be worried as a kid that like that ghost can walk down to my house. That's what I would be thinking all the time.
100%. Yeah, the ghost coming over. I think that's always, you know, that's the thing when I visit. I have visited the murder house in Los Angeles, in Los Feliz. So we were talking about how Disney lived there, and there's a murder house that's kind of infamous, and American Horror Story kind of based its first season on it. And
is this the Aztec house, or is this the one where the father killed the family during the Christmas holidays?
Yeah, the one that the father killed the family. So the Aztec house is there too.
D'Angelo murder house. What's that one called?
I think something like that. But is the Aztec house, is that separate from the house on Haunted Hill house, or is that the same house?
The Aztec house is the one where supposedly the Black Dahlia was killed, that doctor lived in. It was like a Lloyd Wright design. I think Frank Lloyd Wright's son designed that house.
And it's called the Jaws house occasionally, right?
Is
that house, or is that a
maybe,
different one?
I don't know. I hadn't heard that, but I'm clearly not an expert.
There's the house on Haunted Hill house that's also up in the hill. Weirdly, the house on Haunted Hill house that they used for the movie, sits above the murder house where the dentist murdered his wife and kind of chopped at his daughter, but she lived.
Right.
And then there's one that's called the Jaws house.
Chopped at his daughter. That's the way to describe it. You know, he chopped at his daughter, but she got away.
The Jaws house is like a walk from it's very close, and they use that they film there all the time and stuff. But that is creepy looking from the outside. It's like, yeah, it's like a very famous house, and it has like a very specific look from the front. And that might be one that's also called the Aztec house. But I'm not sure if the Aztec house could be the house on Haunted Hill house, or if that's even just another separate.
I think those are different houses. Than the one that's in the house on Haunted Hill.
There's so many spooky houses up in the Los Feliz area. It's hard to keep track of.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's creepy.
The murder house I used to like when I was a part of a sketch group called the Birthday Boys. And we'd have parties up at there. They had a house in North Hollywood. We didn't own it; they rented it, obviously. But we'd have parties up there, and then, like a lot of the time, like not a lot of the times, but a few times, we were there. And late night, we would like get someone to drive us down to that murder house, and we like looked in the windows. And I remember Harris Whittles, rest in peace. He was a guy who led the charge there one time, and we kind of looked in the front window, and I did see it, and I would like show people in town and stuff. I'd show them that house.
Describe what was going on in the window for those listeners that don't know.
So the thing is that yes, this guy used to be a dentist, and he I don't know if you've ever told the story on the show before, but he was a dentist, and it was like late 1950s. I think it was 1959, and around the holidays, around Christmas. And one night, his older daughter, who was like a teenager, maybe 18 or around there, came into the room, and he was basically like with a hammer axe, like one of those things that's both a hammer and an axe, like kind of hitting at his wife, like basically killing her. And then he started to hit at his older daughter, and she got out of there. But I think the two younger daughters came in the room, and he's like, "You're having a nightmare. Just go back to bed." And
that's right.
the other daughter like crawled out of there and went next door and told the cops, and the cops came back, and he had and this is crazy, but he drank acid to kill himself. Something that just seems fake.
Oh shit.
But just is, if you look it up, he like drank acid and killed himself, and the wife died, and the kids all survived, and I think they went on to, you know, live with other family or whatever. But the house was bought, and no one touched it for like the longest time. And so it was around the holidays, and there was a Christmas tree and presents like under the tree, and that stuff just stayed up for like the longest time. And so like you could walk up, which we did, and look in the window, and the first night I went there was the creepiest feeling I've ever had, like in person. It was very, very creepy. But you could look in the windows, and I remember when I went during the day, I looked in the window, and there was a magazine from the 50s. Like I think it said 59. I can't remember exactly, but there was a magazine from the 50s on a shelf like nearby. You could like see it in like the back window. It was insane. And you looked in there, and there was just like all this old stuff. The Christmas tree they eventually did take down, but the house was used like I think there was like a lot of sex workers used the house at one point, and it was kind of like it was kind of really worn down and stuff, but no one ever, the people who bought it just never lived there. And so it was just kind of this big empty house, which they've now stripped. I don't know if it's sold or not, but it's like always had this weird thing around it where like no one actually ends up living in there. It's a really weird, crazy story. And I remember walking on the front lawn and like sinking into the front lawn. It was just a fucking, I would not want to step inside. What's that?
Like quicksand? Like you
like yes, like it kind of, like it was kind of like quicksand. Not, I mean, like it was
That'd be
not
awesome
like
if their murder house had quicksand as a front lawn.
It was just like a weird old dried out lawn that like I remember just like sinking down into. It was fucking gross. But
let me ask you, Mike, if you think they tore down that house and put up a whole new edifice, do you think strange paranormal occurrences would still take place? I guess I'm asking, I mean, what do you think a haunting consists of? Is it like the energy that sort of seeps into those walls, or is it like a discarnate spirit from the other side, like continuing to haunt the place because it feels it's not at rest? I mean, what's your take on sort of the ghost or the haunted phenomena?
Great question. I think that yes, you can like maybe rebuild there, and that energy can kind of carry over. You know what I mean? Like that to me feels like a possibility that you can't just like wash away that bad energy by putting something new on top there.
Right.
You know, like maybe if it was completely erased and they said something over the land or something, I think that maybe that's a possibility. But also I'm like very superstitious, and it would be hard for me to buy a house that someone died in, because I feel like I would think it's haunted in some way.
In California, they have to disclose that. It's part of the law. Yeah,
which is I think is great for me. I mean, I would want to know, and I think there can be bad energy. So that's the last kind of creepy story I have is that I stayed in this house when I first moved out here. I had an internship, and I worked for this guy in Denver. We shot this indie film in Denver. I was on the camera department. And so this producer, I was working for this producer, and then he's like, if you want, you can like kind of stay at my place when you come back and you just do work for me, and you can kind of have a place to live. And I was like, oh, sure. You know what I mean? And so, of course, I was going to take him up on it. So I came back there, and I stayed in the guest room of his house. It was this nice old house. Charlie Chaplin supposedly had bought it for his mom back in the day. So it's this older house, not far from like kind of up off of Sunset Boulevard, Crescent Heights, basically, like right around there. And so like, yeah, this old house, and it was kind of like a nice, beautiful house. And the producer and actually his other, like this other producer and assistant lived in the downstairs. He lived in like a little separate side of the house. So it was kind of a weird living situation, because he lived there too. He was like a 30-year-old dude, and he basically lived like, he worked for I almost said his name. He worked for the producer, and lived like in a section of the house, and then I was upstairs in the guest room. And so it was kind of a weird thing, and I didn't want to stay there too long anyways, but the producer went overseas. He went to, I think, Greece, and he left. And then it was me and the other producer who lived downstairs, and he was going, and he was like, before I go, and I was going to stay to take care of this guy's dog, Kerry, who was this super old dog. And he was like, before I go, do you want me to like tell you anything? And I was like, well, like, do you have any questions or that sort of deal? Giving me the rundown. And I was like, yeah, I was like, is this house haunted? And he was like, why do you say that? And he was like, I'll tell you when I get back. And I was like, is it haunted by like a woman or something? And he was like, why are you saying that? And I was like, I don't know. I just have this weird feeling about it. And he was like, well, I'll tell you when I get back. And I was like, no. Like, you got to tell me now, for God's sake. And he was like, okay. So he's like, so like over the years, like a lot of the staff and a lot of people have seen this like blonde woman walking around the house. And because this guy had like, people like people who worked at the house or whatever, like a gardener. And then there was someone who kind of did like laundry and stuff like that were there like on like a couple times a week or whatever. And so they were like, oh yeah, so people have like spotted this blonde woman, and this producer's his nephew one day like saw this blonde woman walking through the hallway, and he like followed her up the stairs, and then he followed her into a room, and she disappeared. And I was like, well, what room was it? And he was like, it was the guest room. It was the room I was staying in. And I was like, motherfucker. And I saw like, I was so freaked out. And I kept like, so I knew, I mean, like I never saw anything. I really never saw anything, but I always just had this weird feeling. And so I used to wake up in the middle of the night in that room. Like I would just wake up like at 3 or 4 or whatever in the morning.
That's the time.
And I would just like I would like that witching hour, and I'd wake up and I'd be like, I would like sit up in bed and be like, hello? Like I'd be like, what's going on? Like a weird feeling like that. And that happened like too many times in the short amount of time I was there. And so he was like, yeah, she disappeared in that room, and I was fucking freaked out, and I was like, I can't stay in that room. And he's like, if you want, you can like pull your stuff downstairs and stay in my room. And so I did. I like stayed in his room, and his room was like basically kind of off of the house. It was like still a part of the house, but I would like stay in there with the TV on, and then I would like wake up and immediately like go outside and just like drive around Los Angeles and like be out of the house because I was so fucking scared to be there. And then like I remember I like got drunk a couple nights and was like went upstairs where there was like a nice TV room.
You're like, let me see if this blonde lady's around. Huh?
I think it's Species.
I put in Species, and I would so when I was upstairs I would just like I would do that thing that Mrs. Tufo did. I get it now. Like where I would just be like, please don't. I'm just watching TV. Please don't like do anything. I don't want to see anything. So
that's wild. You would speak out loud.
I'd speak out loud. I was so scared. And then the funny thing is that because I didn't want to go home so often, I started hanging out at the Birthday Boys' house up in North Hollywood. And Tim Kalpakis always says, and he's a member of the Birthday Boys, but he says that like when he had heard of me, like, oh, Mitch is coming over, and he's like a nice guy or whatever, and then like Tim met me and he was like, it's this weirdo who's like afraid to be in his house, because I told him like I was like, the house I'm at is haunted and I like don't want to be there, and I like slept on their couch, and he's like, who is this fucking weird guy, this weirdo that they've had come stay here? So I basically started hanging out and doing stuff with those guys because I was so afraid of the haunted house I was staying in, and it was terrifying. I was so happy. That was like felt like such a long. I think they were gone for like 10 weeks or
wow.
I'm sorry, not 10 weeks, 10 days or 2 weeks.
That's so
10 weeks. I'd be fucking dead. But it was.
They'd find you in a photograph in the house. Like
I mean, truly, it was that was some of the scariest shit I'd ever experienced, and like I said, I didn't see anything.
I gotta ask, Mike, like,
scary
but
feeling,
and not in like a demeaning way or anything, but like, so what are you afraid of happening?
Maybe I don't know. Maybe it is just like the idea of it is just so scary. You know what I mean? Like, and I think it is like that thing that I was saying. I mean, obviously it brings up a lot of questions of who we are and what happens to us after we're dead, and
totally.
And maybe there is something after we die, and what does that mean, and what does it mean for these people to be here, and is it good energy, is it bad energy, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of questions
like,
that come up.
I always feel like a possession, like it like taking over my persona, or like, kidnapping my soul some way,
Oh, 100%. That scares me. And also like just if it like flew at me and screamed like get out, I think I would like die, you know what I mean? Like it's a possibility that my heart would just stop, you know what I mean?
I'm with you. I am scared of the jump scare factor. I am scared of the thing going like the old boo, like boo, like
the Ghostbusters library ghost, like that's what it's
a full torso people apparition.
That I was 4 when I saw that terror. I remember having a miserable experience watching that movie for the first time, and then later I loved it. But
yes, Gremlins. We mentioned Gremlins earlier. Gremlins also did scare me, which is kind of pathetic. But
that was my like one recurring nightmare. I used to dream that I had this recurring nightmare that Stripe, the lead gremlin, would like sneak into my dad's house and then like come look for me. And I'd, like night after night, I would have that dream, and it freaked me the fuck out. It's
a very funny dream, but it's scary as a kid. It's very scary. All that shit. So yeah, no, I think that I think still to this day I would still be like a big scaredy cat. If I definitely now, as I've gotten older, I'm like there is a bit like, even from when I was 22 or 23, there is a bit more of a like, well, fuck it, who cares? Let's see what happens. There is more of that attitude.
Yeah, right.
But if you brought me to like a very like a place that was supposedly haunted, or like an old hospital or an old psych ward or something, I think that I would be really, really freaked out. I would not be cool by any means.
Yeah, you and me both.
I'm scared of the heart attack now. Like, I'm getting up there.
Yeah.
I'm scared of dropping dead from fright.
And then you're a ghost. Then you join them. It sucks.
Right.
Dude,
yeah,
no.
totally.
Mike, amazing stories. All three
Incredible.
of those. Love it. We have to move on to a game that we love to play with all of our guests. I'm going to go down a list of phenomena, and if you're open to it, you're going to say believe it. If you're not open to it, you're going to say bullshit. There's no in between. Okay, rapid fire. This is a game that we like to call bullshit
or believe it.
Halloween style.
Wow.
Mike Mitchell.
Yes.
On your mark. Get set. Ghosts.
Believe it.
UFOs.
Believe it.
Bigfoot.
Believe it.
Vampires.
Believe it.
Shadow. I love this already.
You're doing great.
Shadow people.
Believe it.
Loch Ness monster.
That one's tricky, but yes.
Okay, we'll come back.
Okay.
Loch Ness monster.
Believe it.
Little gray aliens.
Believe it.
Werewolves.
Bullshit.
Parallel universes.
Believe it.
Zombies.
Semi believe it.
Shapeshifters.
I believe it.
Nice.
Black cats are bad luck.
Bullshit.
The Hell Dimension.
Believe it.
Yeti.
Believe it.
Astrology.
Believe it.
ESP.
Believe it. Slightly.
Witches.
Yes, believe it in a way. Yes.
Warlocks.
Also believe it in a way.
Demonic possession.
Believe it.
Spook lights.
Don't know it.
Spook lights are like those little glowing orbs of light you see.
Believe it. Believe it.
Okay, got it. Okay, orbs. I should have just said orbs. Atlantis.
So now hold on.
Atlantis.
Bullshit. Mothman. Bullshit.
Reincarnation.
I can believe it. Why not?
Life after death.
Yeah, I believe it.
All right, great job.
Well
We're going to
done.
circle back on a couple
done.
of these.
Do you guys think I'm a fool?
No. Hey, man, I'm a select all believe.
I mean, I kind of am close to that, honestly. Like, even Mothman, I'm like, I don't know, maybe Mothman fucking
We could
exists.
get you there with Mothman.
We could. Yeah.
Absolutely could get you there. I love that you giggled for believing in Bigfoot. I just want to point that out. That was very enjoyable.
I like obviously there is like, you know, like what that is. I just believe that there's some sort of Bigfoot or Yeti. Like I'm sure there is some sort of big creature or was at some point. Why not? I can believe that.
Yeah.
Shadow people you wanted to circle back on.
Well, shadow people, I that's tricky because I have a couple buddies who have sleep paralysis. Also, my friend Dan Tufo, he had sleep paralysis, and in that same house the Tufo's house that was haunted, he had like an old woman sitting at the foot of his bed when he had sleep paralysis, which is fucking terrifying.
That wasn't sleep paralysis, Danny Tufo.
God, just I would not be able to deal with that. And luckily I've never I had like a night terror once, and I thought a tarantula was on my wall, and I thought it was like the most real thing on earth, but I've never experienced shadow people, and I hope never to experience it because I believe, I don't know what that is. Like, I mean, I obviously believe that people see stuff when they have sleep paralysis. And I watched that I think the documentary that's on Netflix. That's pretty terrifying.
The Nightmare.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
What's
God,
the documentary on Netflix?
The Nightmare.
Oh, I'm writing that shit down.
You got to watch that, dude. It'll freak you out, dude. Nick Weiger on 2 weeks ago. Your podcast partner. He experiences night terrors. That's what he talked about. He sees a giant hulking, almost headless shadow beast.
Oh, that's
Jesus.
weird. That's not good.
wonder
It was.
No wonder he acts the way he does. That's fucking terrifying.
And it's, you know what's so fascinating is it's always like around like 3 a.m., 3:30, 4 a.m. It seems like to be like a time where just like the veil is thinner and things, you know, energy from the other side can sort of come on over and fuck with people in their sleep, you know?
For sure. It's that sort of thing of I'm happy to have, like, some people are like, oh, maybe you, just because when I had that feeling that that house was haunted, people were like, oh, maybe you have some sort of sixth sense.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I really don't think I've never really seen anything. You know what I mean? Like that's the closest experience I've had. And when someone brought that up to me, it kind of blew my mind because I have so never seen anything, but I've always heard stuff and I've been around stuff. And then that was the only time that I kind of like had a weird feeling about something. But
Well, you can intuit things without having to physically see anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a psychic sense. It goes back to your ESP in a way. Like sometimes you just might have like a little bit of like one of those like those like ghost box apps for your phone. It's just kind of in your brain and you're like, I think there might be a ghost around. You know what I mean? You might just be able to sense that stuff without actually having to see it.
God, well, anything like that, turn it off because I do not. I don't want it. I don't want to see it. I really don't.
You're born this way, Mike Mitchell.
I've said my father passed away, and I like have said this before, but like if my dad came back as a ghost, I probably like would punch it. I wouldn't want it near me. I wouldn't want him around. I'll see it. Hey, if there is something, I hope to see it after. You know, like I would love to see it again, but don't
just wait. I'll be dead soon. Just you know, give me a minute or two. I'll be there.
Do you have to stand at the edge of my bed? Like, do you have to stand like halfway out of my closet in the dark and stare at me? That's not the way to do it, Dad.
That's like the sort of thing of like going to the whatever the Overlook is based on, the Shining Hotel, or like any of those haunted hotels. I'm like, I'd be so creeped out. Like anytime I'm in a place that they're like, this place is like old and is known to be like haunted or spooky, my anxiety goes up and I am just like on edge. It really, and maybe that is a part of it. Maybe there is something to me that my radar goes up and I know something's going on, but I've never, thank God, I've never seen anything, and I hope to never see anything. So
well, Mike Mitchell, you couldn't have set us up better for what's going to happen right after this break. We'll be right back with this week's story of high strangeness.
Oh no.
You know, Mitch, I just wanted to acknowledge in Bullshit or Believe It that you stood up for cats as a cat owner yourself. Yeah. Do you have your two kitties are tuxedo cats, correct?
I got two tuxedo cats. I love them very much, Wally and Irma. They actually came back to Quincy with me.
Nice.
And so black cats, a lot of the times, people are think that a black cat is bad luck. So a lot of the time they have troubles at shelters and stuff like that. And they're cute as hell. They're cute little guys. And Wally and Irma are tuxedos, and I love them very much. All cats are great. Cats are awesome.
I've never heard that term. Is that what a tuxedo cat is? Is just a black cat?
It's a black and white cat.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It looks like they're wearing little tuxedos.
That's right. And
all right. Well,
they're too cute. I love them. And like, is it because that they're like the bad luck, or they were like they rode on witches' broomsticks apparently back in the day? Whatever it is, people are gonna get over it. They gotta adopt black kittens and cats and get them out of shelters.
We'll strike it from the Bullshit or Believe It. It was the first time we did it. I added it specifically for you because you're a cat.
Yeah, fucking bullshit. It's bullshit.
Guys, adopt a black cat today.
Do it.
Well, Mike Mitchell, I'm sorry to tell you, you said you were a night owl, but you may not sleep at all tonight after tonight's terrifying tale from Zombie Bigfoot's Cryptid Crypt. Riley, Bryce, help me open the crypt here.
Sure. It's a little heavy.
All right.
Stinky.
Ian Black. Oh.
I want to know what it smelled like. I was interested.
Oh. What does it smell like? Death.
Oh my god!
It smells like blonde women's farts.
And
oh my god!
Sour Skittles, blonde woman farts, and death.
That's one of the sour Skittle flavors.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Now some freaks are going to be running out buying those Skittles if they want to taste them.
Oh yeah.
They'll be like, "Where's that? I want to house sit that house." Gonna get a lot of weird DMs asking where that house is. All right, let's dive in to tonight's terrifying tale. Ian Blackburn, former director of building management at Albert Hall, after calling in paranormal investigators to unlock ghostly happenings at London's most iconic venue in 1996, told the Daily Telegraph this.
When people keep saying the same things to you, you have to take notice and try and get to the bottom of it.
As we've so frequently discussed on this program, high strangeness can manifest itself in wild and unexpected ways. Yet oftentimes, the phenomenon will remain almost irritatingly consistent, with eyewitnesses claiming to encounter the same supernatural occurrences, not just over the course of a few days or weeks or years, but generationally. And in some cases, witnesses even share a common experience that stretches across centuries. It begs the question, is consistent paranormal activity simply folklore and legend being regurgitated from generation to generation? Or is it the sign of something genuinely bizarre at play? Tonight's subject certainly gives credence to both arguments, but consider that we are about to explore a house that haunted multi-generational families and multiple inhabitants, a location so riddled with paranormal activity that famed British psychical researcher Harry Price once called it the most haunted house in England. Join me now as we turn the key and enter Borley Rectory. Or as the Brits like to call it, Borley Rectory.
That's got to count for something, doesn't it?
Built in 1862 by Reverend Henry Dawson Ellis Bull, that's a name, in Borley Village, Essex, Borley Rectory was a Gothic-style house located on Hall Road near an Episcopalian church, Borley Church. The site of the rectory, the house of the presiding rector or minister, was once where the former rectory stood, which burned down in the 1840s. Now, according to local legend, the site had been a place of worship as far back as the 12th century. And the lot where Borley Rectory stood once hosted a Benedictine monastery back in the 1300s. Now, this is disputed because there is no historical record of that happening, but that's the legend. And the story goes that it was there that a monk and a nun from a nearby convent had a torrid love affair that resulted in the monk being run out of town and the nun being buried alive by being bricked up in a wall. Obviously, the spirit of the nun haunts the premises to this day, and the apparition is sometimes known as the Blue Nun for the unworldly blue glow she gives off.
So wait, so they just left her in a room and bricked her up?
Yep, they let her die because she had sex with a monk. And apparently he kind of got off easy. I think he was just exiled.
Right.
They killed her.
You, sir, need to leave town, but you, on the other hand,
stand against this pile of bricks and hold still.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, it's super fucked up. Now, the Bull family were obviously the first people to live in Borley Rectory, having been built by the patriarch of the family, Reverend Bull. It was in 1863 that the first recorded paranormal activity at Borley Rectory began. The Bulls experienced the sounds of phantom footsteps, saw strange lights, heard weird crashes and disembodied grunts. The servants' bells would twinkle on their own, and they could hear sounds of rushing water running through the walls where there were no pipes. Bull's adolescent daughter often seemed to be a target of the activity, claiming to have been struck in the face by an unseen entity in the middle of the night. On July 28th, 1900, that girl, Ethel, and her sister, Frida, were walking home from a summer party when a woman, dressed in the black robes of a nun, came gliding out of the trees on thin air. Frightened, the two Bull sisters called for their older sister, Elsie, who scolded the girls for being foolish, and then stomped out to see the nun for herself. The ghost was still waiting for her outside, and as Elsie approached, the specter turned to face her and then vanished into thin air. Locals had told tales of the ghostly nun appearing near the church grounds as far back as 1819. She would often be seen passing through the garden, literally, or peering into the rectory's windows. On occasion, she would be spotted inside the rectory, standing at a window and gazing sadly out into the landscape, wondering, one might presume, when someone would rescue her body from its unholy tomb and free her soul from eternal restlessness.
That's all she wanted.
Reverend Henry Dawson Ellis, Bull, died of syphilis. Apparently, he was had a lot of. This reverend liked to had a lot of extramarital affairs and also fathered illegitimate children that lived at the house as well. So,
damn,
yeah, this dude was
probably got that nun so pissed off. Unless, I don't know, would it be worth it?
Right.
Is there any scenario to be worth it to be bricked up? I feel like I maybe would enjoy being bricked up.
It's like a weird kink.
If I could get food fed to me through a slot, I think I'd be all right with the. I'd be all right with the.
You have a slot
just
for
called
food,
prison.
and then you have like a little slot for poo, and then you're good to go. So after Reverend Bull dies, he handed down the rectory to his. Well, I mean, he didn't do it. He wasn't a ghost. He died, and then the rectory was handed down to his eldest son, Henry Foister Bull. Now, Henry would also experience some terrifying encounters. During his tenure, he came upon his dog, Juvenile, barking at some bushes just in time to see a headless figure emerge from the shrubbery and pass through a garden gate. Headless entities were a recurring theme for Henry.
The hell?
He became one of the lucky eyewitnesses, or unlucky, of the other fabled spectral occurrence at Borley Rectory, when he managed to see the infamous phantom coach, driven by two headless coachmen, pass in front of the house. Henry had a second encounter with the phantom coach as he was riding home one evening and heard a coach and horses coming up behind him. Henry pulled aside to allow the coach to pass. Only nothing was there but the sounds of clattering hooves and wheels going by. In 1928, Henry followed his father's footsteps and died in the rectory's blue room, and the Bull family vacated the premises for the new rector, Reverend Guy Smith and his wife, Mabel. A childless couple, the Smiths took over Borley Rectory in the autumn of 1928. They wouldn't last a year in the house. Shortly after moving in, Mabel was cleaning one of the kitchen cupboards where she found a brown paper package. Unwrapping it, she discovered... Mike Mitchell, you want to take a guess?
A head.
Ooh. Mike Mitchell, you're correct.
Oh my God.
Mabel found the skull of a young woman,
Jesus.
which Reverend Smith promptly buried in the church graveyard.
What?
Wow.
Why? Why?
There was
why are there
I don't
headless
know.
ghosts?
I don't know. And why is there a skull of a young woman in the cupboard that apparently hadn't been cleaned out? And also, the house is it's only 40. Well, I guess it's about 60 years old at this point. Why is there a skull in the cupboard?
Jesus.
The Smiths seemed to experience a ton of paranormal activity. Mysterious lights, the servants' bells again twinkling even when the cords had been cut, and heavy footsteps. Even one of their servants saw the phantom coach pass by twice. Apparently, the footsteps were so bad that there's a story that one night, Reverend Smith was home and he could hear someone stomping around on the ground floor, and he hid around a corner with a hockey stick, and when the footsteps approached, he jumped out and swung, and there was nothing there. Mabel reported hearing cries coming from the infamous Blue Room, where both
Wait, hold
Reverend
on. Stupid question time. Do Brits play hockey?
they probably play yard hockey.
Right.
Why wouldn't they play hockey?
Yard hockey.
On
Field hockey.
horseback. Yeah, field hockey. What is it called? Yard hockey. Sure, you could get in the 1920s. You could get a in the early 30s. You could get a hockey stick in England. Come on.
Okay. All right.
Of course, they play hockey.
This story is giving me ASMR. I'm freaking. I'm chilled out.
Oh, no. Somebody get a pile of bricks. Where was I? Yes. So Mabel reported hearing cries coming from the infamous Blue Room, where both Reverend Bull and his son Harry died. This voice was screaming the phrase,
"No, Carlos, don't."
Now, who Carlos is and what he was doing, we don't know. But Mabel was so upset that she contacted the Daily Mirror, the London news publication that exists to this day. Though she requested contact information for the Society of Psychical Research, she wanted a paranormal investigation done, the Mirror instead sent out one of its very own reporters, V.C. Wall, to do a story on the haunted house, and suddenly, Borley Rectory became famous. Eventually, a paranormal investigator did come out to the house, Harry Price, who, along with V.C. Wall from the Mirror, was investigated Borley Rectory in what might be considered the first paranormal reality show investigation. I mean, basically, these guys came out and they did a series of reports, and VC would write the stories that would run in the Mirror, and Harry Price became sort of famous as the investigator that was studying the house. Now, a little sidebar information on Harry Price. He's sort of a notorious character. He began his career sort of debunking spiritualists and hucksters and hoaxsters. He was friends with... Oh gosh, Bryce, the escape artist Houdini.
Sure.
But he also genuinely tended to believe that there was something to the paranormal phenomenon. He wanted to figure out exactly what it was. He was part of the Society of Psychical Research, and then he broke off and started a new one, and ultimately ended up having a bit of a residency as an honorary professor, an honorary person, honorary scholar at London's the University of London. He's kind of an early Peter Venkman from Ghostbusters.
Fantastic.
He was sort of studying psychic stuff and ghosts out of and associated with the University of London. There's a lot of people that later in his career think that he may have faked some of his stuff and sort of became a huckster himself, but we're not going to focus so much on that because I think there's enough evidence in this story that points to something really happening in this house. So let's go back to Price and Wall in their investigation while the Smiths were living at Borley Rectory. Now, during their investigation, Price and Wall reported seeing strange lights appearing within the rectory that would vanish once they entered the house. A sighting of the nun floating through the garden, candlesticks flying across the room, so telekinetic activity, exploding vases, wrappings on the wall, and stones being thrown at them by unseen entities. Price and Wall also claimed to witness 2 bottles of unopened wine transmogrify into ink and perfume. Now, for their part, the Smiths decided that living in a haunted house was not their cup of tea. So, like Mitch's neighbors, the Henningtons, they moved out after Price and Wall's investigation in the summer of 1929. Now, on October 16th, 1930, the next people to live in the house, Lionel Foister, a first cousin of the original Bull family, he moves in with his wife, Mary Ann. The paranormal activity only escalated. Bells ringing, windows shattering. Their 3-year-old daughter, Adelaide, kicked in her room by an unseen entity, and another unseen entity throwing Mary Ann Foister out of bed.
It's not cool.
Now, the rumor was that Mary Ann and Lionel had a very tumultuous relationship, and apparently he was 22 years old, 22 years her senior. They had gotten married when she was like 16 and was already married to somebody else. And then during the time they lived at the house, she started up an affair with a lodger who stayed at the house, and then she was living with him during the weeks in London, running a flower shop that Lionel Foister bankrolled. So they had a very bizarre relationship, and apparently there was a lot of fighting. They think that some of the black eyes that Mary Ann had gotten and claimed were from ghosts were either from her lover in London or from Lionel. We don't really know, but there was bad energy in this house when they lived there. So Harry Price, he returns to conduct more investigations. One subject of interest were the scribbled, barely legible writings that started appearing on the walls. The author trying to contact Marianne and pleading for help and peace and rest. Eventually, the Foysters moved out in the mid to late 30s after going bankrupt. And the church merged with another parish, so the rectory was closed and stood vacant until it was leased by Harry Price himself, who began a year-long study of the house, seeking help in his endeavors through an ad in the London Times on May 25th, 1937. He wrote,
"Haunted House. Responsible persons of leisure and intelligence, intrepid, critical, and unbiased, are invited to join rota of observers in a year's day and night investigation of alleged haunted house."
So he put an ad out on the paper and built a paranormal investigation team, and they set up at Borley Rectory, and this is kind of them doing an early Skinwalker Ranch study, Bryce. This is kind of like they went and moved in specifically to study the paranormal activity.
Amazing.
Was my British man really, really good?
Yeah, it was great. Did a great job.
It was.
Super.
It was indeed, Mike.
Thank you, mate.
Indeed.
Sounds like he's been down at the docks.
He's a Muppet British guy, basically. He's a pig. Yeah, that's like the pig.
Right. We're both just worried about this nun.
So
we want to get her out of there.
Yeah, house. Yeah.
Get her out of the house is what we want.
Sorry, Mike. This could take a bad turn. Yeah.
Oh, good. Just let me know when to come back in.
Very pissed off.
I guess right now would be fine. Yep.
Yeah.
Sure you don't want to get that nun off. Yeah? What?
If she don't get that nun out of there, there's going to be more black eyes.
You need to get the nun off.
That sounds like that sounds horny. It sounds very horny.
I was taking it to a new level.
Really taking a turn.
Apologies to our listeners in the UK.
Yes, we're sorry.
On numerous occasions, Price and his colleagues... He's from Boston. He's still rebelling against you assholes.
That's right.
Love it.
On numerous occasions, Price and his colleagues conducted seances. During one such session, they contacted the spirit of a French nun named Marie Lever, who had moved to the previous rectory in the 1660s after being seduced by a wealthy member of the Walgreaves family. Her lover strangled her to death and buried her beneath the current cellar.
What the fuck?
This is what the spirit's telling them during the seance.
Wow.
She wanted her remains to be found and given a proper Catholic burial. On another occasion, Price's team contacted an entity calling himself Suneaters Armories, who proclaimed that he would burn down the house that very night at 9 p.m. to reveal the true culprit of the rectory's hauntings.
Wow.
Nothing happened then. Price finished his investigation and moved out of the house in 1938 with no hard facts or conclusions about the source behind all of the phenomena at play at the rectory. However, his work went a long way to establishing Borley Rectory as one of the most haunted houses in the world. Finally, in 1939, holding for Violet...
I love that ghost was like, I'll burn it down at 9.
And then
9 p.m. tonight, sharp.
Finally, in 1939, Borley Rectory's fate became sealed. The new owner, Captain William Gregson, was moving into the house, and while unpacking, he knocked over a stack of books, tipping over a paraffin lamp in the process, and burning the rectory to the ground.
There you go.
Suneaters Armories' prophecy became true, just a few years later than predicted. Even still, people would claim to see the nuns standing at the windows of the charred-out rectory. The building was eventually leveled, but the church and the graveyard still exist today, as do the stories of Borley Rectory's many ghosts. So was it truly the most haunted house in England, or just a setting for a local ghost stories? Or was it a stage that was set for Harry Price to sell the public on the ideas of phantasmagoria? Well, it depends on who you're speaking to. A lot of work has been done to discredit Harry Price in the years after his investigations of the house, but he can't account for all the eyewitnesses who have seen strange things on these grounds for centuries. Now, I thought I'd end tonight's story with 2 audio clips. These come from a mid-1970s BCC documentary about the rectory. So the first clip we're going to play is a sound captured on a tape recorder by paranormal investigators. They left it overnight in the Borley Church, the original church that's still there.
Oh, wow.
So they sealed off, they closed off the church. They knew nobody was in there, and the next day they came back to play back the tape. And they got a lot of sounds, but I liked this one because it may be the sound of one of those disembodied grunts that we heard about at the beginning of the story.
When did they leave this microphone in, Mike?
This is in the 70s.
Gotcha.
They went in with just like one of those box tape recorders and went in there and just press play, press play record, and they left it. And then they came back to check the tape. So this is one of the sounds they captured. So you hear footsteps and a heavy grunt.
Yeah.
That's fucking spooky.
Yeah, that'll do it. That's weird.
So the next thing I want
Jacking
to
off
play...
in the corner or something.
Did kind of have that vibe.
Stacking bricks and jacking it.
What year was this?
That was from the 70s, 1975. So this is years and years later, because there's paranormal investigators still go out there today, and the graveyard and the church are still haunted, and they think that a lot of these spirits moved from the house across the street to the church. And as we'll hear in this next clip, this is an eyewitness story from that same BBC documentary. And I'll put the links in show notes. This is all up on YouTube. This is a story from a man who's a paranormal investigator who claimed to see the nun herself.
Oh, wow.
While working, studying the church property. So let's play that story. I think this is a really cool one.
I got a team together with Roy Potter, and we did actually on the site of the rectory. We concentrated mostly.
Did you see anything there?
Oh, yes. In June, I can't remember the exact date, but in June we sighted the nun.
You did?
Oh, yeah, 2 of us.
What time of day?
I would say somewhere about 1:45 in the morning. It was absolutely full moon. And first of all, we couldn't really, we were astonished. But when we saw this apparition go through bushes and through railings and across a trench, we knew we were really on something. So we had an observation actually 11 minutes, and I had a
How long?
11 minutes.
You watched a ghost for
11 minutes, exactly. Well, I wouldn't say exactly, but around about 11 minutes. 9 to 11 minutes. Now, this, I had a wonderful view of her because she came towards me, and then she stood still for some time, and I was able to have a good look at her. She actually started on the original old nun's walk, which is in the back garden of some people's bungalow. And she disappeared in the back part of their bungalow, and then she reappeared and came across into the rectory part. Actually, she finished up behind the rectory and disappeared in some shrubs there. The nun, when she's looking at you, she's not seeing you at all. She's not seeing you. Even when she was supposed to stand in the old days of Harry Price, stand looking in the rectory window, she's not seeing the rectory. She's in her own period. She's seeing something that's there in her period. And that's why she appeared about a foot from the ground, which
She wasn't on the ground?
Well, she was a foot above it. Now, this was due, I'm sure, to the original level. Since then, the ground has sunk. So I would say she was at the original level in her period.
Well experienced.
So there you go.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's the story of Borley Rectory. Let's talk about this clip, but I just wanted to say I'll list, if you're interested in learning more about this, I'm going to put the list of sources from this research in the show notes. But I love that idea that, and that's why I wanted to include it, the idea that this nun is actually, it's sort of a time loop thing that we're seeing her in her own
that's right.
time.
She's not seeing what's in the present. She's just, it's like an old visage of her back in the day looking at something. Yeah, weird.
Yeah, that's cool as hell.
Yeah, I love the idea that the reason they appear to be floating is because they're actually walking on the ground level from 200, 300 years ago.
Yeah. Damn.
That's weird.
So, Mike Mitchell, what the hell is that? I can't even say your name anymore. I'm so scared.
Yeah.
What is this? What's going on here? You are the haunted house expert. What's your take?
I'm scared. I don't know. I have no idea. It's it's almost midnight over here. And now I'm fucking gonna be up till 3 a.m. Just terrified. I mean, I'm trying to figure out if you brick someone up, if you brick someone into a room as punishment, I feel like right. That's how this supposedly started with the nun, right?
That's the legend. That's the myth. But there's no real evidence that a Benedictine monastery ever stood on those grounds. Now they know that the church may have been there as early as the 12th century, or a church, that it's been a holy ground. But there's no, and in fact, when they've they actually went in and excavated beneath Borley Rectory, and they found the foundations of the previous rectory that had burned down in the 1840s. I do find it fascinating that both rectories burned to the ground in the same spot. That's kind of creepy.
For sure.
And they did find bones under there as well. They found, I believe it might have been even Harry Price in one of his investigations, found, I can't remember who this was exactly, but they found a jawbone of a woman that looked like had a really bad tooth infection. And so there's some theories that maybe the nun looked so sad and dour because she had a really bad tooth infection and died from that. So that's the legend of her being bricked up, but there's no real evidence that actually happened.
I like the story of the monk and the nun getting it on, and that's kind of I want to believe that version of it, but very scary. You maybe had said this, but whereabouts is this in like location to London?
This is in Essex. So Essex is it's not London. It's out. Let's just take a little Google because I don't know off the top of my head. Essex to London. Let's go look. So obviously some of our listeners will know this, but it's about 49 miles east of London. Almost a straight shot.
Wow, it's worth the visit. I feel like if I'm back in England, I would drive out and check it out.
Absolutely, I would too. I mean, this is my jam. Like when I go to London, when I go to England, and it's been a while now, I like to go see the haunted stuff. Like, give me the spooky ookies. That's what I'm into.
Hell yeah.
And I want to thank my friend and listener Neil McLean for suggesting this week's story. This was a story that he's from England, and he said he would grow up. There were always stories and documentaries about this on TV, and as a child, he was terrified of it. So I thought this was a pretty cool one to investigate for.
Yeah, this is Conjuring worthy, Conjuring 4 or whatever.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. Yeah. It's just predates. The people that live there, predates the Warrens by about 40 years.
Yeah, maybe the Warrens' grandparents or something are there.
Yeah, do it pretty cool. The Warrens go back in time.
Yeah, time travel.
Why not? Mike Mitchell, thank you so much for being a guest on the show. It's been a real pleasure having you. Those were some killer stories. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Doughboys Mitch on Twitter, and then on Instagram, my name's Mitch, MYNAMES, Mitch, MITCH. So check it out, and then Doughboys, the podcast, is you can find it in all your podcasting apps, and it's on Apple Podcasts. Every Thursday we do a new episode, and then on Tuesdays we have Patreon, the Doughboys Double. You can check that out too.
Fantastic. Sweet. I think I called it the Doughboys, but it's Doughboys, right?
Yeah, Doughboys, sure, yeah.
It's just like us, Bigfoot Collectors Club. There's no the, so I apologize. You guys can find us at Bigfoot Collectors Club on Instagram, at Bigfoot Pod on Twitter. Bryce, Riley, anything to plug?
That music video is coming. It's almost done finally. So it's coming soon, baby.
Sweet. Cannot wait.
Right.
Yeah, I'll plug my game again. Sure. I invented and developed a game. It's an adult party game. It's a fucking riot. Just go to thedpcugame.com to learn more about it. It's going to be available this fall. Dirty Picture Cover-Up.
Great. And I failed to mention it last week, but we recently did a couple on-camera, like Zoom shows. One with Adela Levine, Medium and Intuitive, over on her YouTube channel. I think it's just YouTube/Adela Levine. Go check that out. That was a really fun conversation. And then we spoke to Aaron Sagers for a program he's doing with Den of Geek called the Paranormal Happy Hour. So I'm going to throw up both of those links in the show notes. Check those out. It's a rare video appearance or on-camera appearance by the Bigfoot Collectors Club. Do us a favor. Go to Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star review. Rate the show. If you do, we might read it right here on the show, like this one. 5-star review. Come for the High Strangeness by Modded Turtle 666. Stay for the stories of Michael getting uncomfortably stoned. Love these boys. Kisses. Thank you very much.
There you go.
There you go. All right, guys. This ends another episode of Bigfoot Collectors Club. There's still more Zombie Bigfoot's Crypt to come as the month continues. I want to thank one last time, Mike Mitchell for being here. We scared him so much he'll never be back on the show. But until next week, good night.
And go get regressed. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Bigfoot Collectors Club is produced by Riley Bray. Our theme song is Come Alone by Suneaters, courtesy of Lotuspool Records. If you like the show, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps get the podcast to more listeners. To support the show, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club and unlock multiple reward episodes every month.